And we are live. Welcome to the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast. I'm John McGlynn, and this is just me yapping into a headset, which is what I love to do while talking to some awesome people I found on the Twitter machine, in person, somewhere else in the fantasy football community. Today, I have the pleasure of talking with one of my home league mates, Scott Sidlo. We'll talk about his life, his career outside of fantasy football, his hobbies, some other fun questions, and we'll jump into some commissioner questions and settings he prefers in leagues he plays in, NFL news and rumors, injuries in Week 11, waiver wire targets. We'll review some trades that went down in the Mighty McGlynn home leagues. The Mighty McGlynn home leagues is what I call them. Then, as usual, we'll evaluate a team to see what we would recommend to either rebuild, remodel the roster, and the steps we could do to take it there. So with me today, like I mentioned before, we have Scott Sidlo. So first of all, tell me about yourself, Scott, where the Twitter machine can find you, and what you do in the fantasy football world that makes people want to follow you.
Yeah, what's up, Johnny? Glad to be here. This is fun. You got to guest on Junkies not too long ago with me, so that was cool. And now here I am sitting here with you. So this is awesome, man. Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Scott_Sidlo. Real creative name there. Just try to keep it simple. Mostly retweeting smart people, unlike myself, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where you can find me as far as social media. I kind of do a little bit of everything. My claim to fame, as they say, is that I play portfolio dynasty. And so being in so many leagues and treating it as a portfolio and as basically a business, a side hustle, it's given me a unique perspective. And so I've been writing some articles, I've been doing Dynasty Junkies, helping out on some other podcasts, Trade Addicts, Dynasty Roast. So we have a lot of stuff always going on. I mean, football's my life. I enjoy it and I love it, and that's why I do it. Really, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. Is I've been playing since I was in fourth grade. I've watched it since before then. I've coached football with neighborhood leagues. I've coached my own kids playing football. So football's my life. I couldn't imagine life without it, and fantasy football just makes it so much better. So yeah, I get it, man. What's your favorite part of the whole fantasy football experience? Do you play? Is it redraft leagues, DFS stuff, best ball, dynasty leagues, podcasting, writing, something else? There's a lot of good things here. But what's your favorite thing to do?
Yeah, I mean, so I started probably I think my first year of college. I want to say I think 2003 or 2004 was my first redraft league, and then I didn't really get into Dynasty. My first Dynasty League was like 2014, but then it was really like 2017, 2018 when I started getting real deep into it. And Dynasty is my favorite part. Everything about Dynasty. I love, there's so much luck in redraft, and I've just gotten away from it. I mean, it used to be in like 11 or 12 leagues, and I was always, I was successful with it, but it just got to the point where it was like those teams where you're like top 3 in points, but you're like 3 and 7. And it's like, well, this sucks. I'm out of it already, basically. But, in Dynasty, you can always be doing something, right? And it's year round and there's always something going on. So my favorite part of it really is just being in Dynasty leagues.
Yeah, I was a redraft person for a while, and I'm like, I'm never joining that Dynasty. I'm not going down the rabbit hole. And then I've completely flipped where I have, it's redraft is a horse race. It's, it doesn't,
right.
I was in a league before with a guy who drafted Emmitt Smith the year after he retired, drafted all these. I mean, his whole team was terrible because he just showed up with a sheet. It's like, I'll take this guy and that guy.
Right.
It was a sheet from the previous year. Like he was but as the year went on, because his team was so bad, he had first waiver wire priority. So he picked up, it was Sean Alexander when he had like 28 touchdowns this year. The next year it was the next week when he lost, it was he picked up the greatest show on turf quarterback, Kurt Warner, when he had an awesome season. Like every week he picked up like 3 guys that just won the league. He annihilated all of us on just luck. It was like, you gotta be kidding me. It would never happen in Dynasty, but
no chance.
I've been in leagues too where I was the highest scorer and went 0-7. And you're
right.
like, you got to be.
Right.
I lost to the highest score every week of the season, and my team is the best by far. Don't make the playoffs. Everybody's giving you the finger, saying, "Yeah, it was nice playing with you." Payoff,
right?
It's like,
yeah, too much luck for me. Too much luck.
Way too much luck. Tell me about your family life. Any kids, pets, family trips? What's going on?
Yeah, man, I've got 2 kids under 18 months. So my daughter is just about 18 months, and my son is 7 weeks. So It's been it's been a journey. It's fun. It's different. I mean, I'm older, I guess, comparatively to like my friends when they had kids. So like I'm like kind of the last one. And I'll tell you, like 10 years ago, I mean, I wasn't ready to have kids 10 years ago. Like I'm definitely way too immature. I'm still am now, but I mean, I can't imagine, at least I would have had the energy for it. Like now by like 8 o'clock, I'm like ready to go to bed. Like I'm exhausted, but, I mean, like where were those days where, you'd stay out all night, you go to work in the morning and then like, you just get up every day and do it over again, right? And then it's like, and then now it's like, oh, I can't get my 8 hours of sleep. I'm so tired, I can't even focus. It's like, what the hell happened? I got old so fast. Like, oh man.
I'm 46 now, and I have a 25-year-old. I have a 20-year-old, 18 and 17-year-old, and I'm thinking to myself, like, I was coming home from work at, I was getting up for work at 3:45, leaving at 4:15. Coming home from work at leave at 2:30, be home at about 3:45, pick up the kids from the babysitter, bring them home, do homework, feed them some food, drop them back off to different babysitters, a head coach of a football team, head coach of a t-ball team, I head coach a cheerleading team one year because the cheerleading quit coach. I quit. I assisted with everything. If I had to start over again now, like head coaching and stuff, I'd be like, oh man, this is terrible. It was I don't know how I had the energy before, but good for you. I'm glad I'm over with it. I'll go to my grandkids games and be like, hey, I have no grandkids yet, but when I'm waiting for them, but I can wait for them a little bit longer. I'm not in a big rush, but
exactly. Well, and you can always give them back at the end of the day, or when you're tired of them,
Yeah, so. It's 8 o'clock. I mean, you might want to go out here, come get these kids.
Yeah.
It's cool now, but now these kids are older, so we go to we're making before now you're wiping you're doing diapers and all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling my kids, hey, me and mine are going to the bar, drive us, and then come pick us up at 2 a.m. So it's pretty nice. It's working for our favor now.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, there's advantages, right? I mean, have them young, but I don't know, man. I don't think you're ever ready for kids. You just do it.
No, you never are. You never are. The best is like when they turn like 2.5 and they start turning on the stove and getting in the cabinets. And take all the pot handles and turn them towards the back of the stove. So, all the things that people learn the hard way or whatever. There's all kind of tricks in the. I don't want to be. My house isn't even childproof now. When I do have grandkids, I don't know what I'm going to do when I have to start over. So. What do you do for a living, and are you happy doing it?
Yes. I work for myself. I learned very early on in life that my first career I was actually an engineer, and I had a cool job. I traveled all over and I did all that. It was really fun. But once I got a real job and I was working every day, it came down to whether I worked as hard as possible and went above and beyond and did everything, or whether I did the bare minimum, it made zero difference. So it was too hard to work every day and not have any potential, or your ceiling, there's no ceiling. Like you know what it is, right? Yeah. Like you get the same check every week and whatever, and that's just, I couldn't do it. I've always kind of been an entrepreneur, so I ended up getting into real estate, and I've been doing real estate sales for 10 years now. I'm actually going into my 10th year. I also own a radon testing company. So I know radon's not a thing everywhere in this country, but here in Northern Illinois, radon's a big deal. So I do radon testing. I've done flipping houses and all that stuff, but right now I focus on real estate and radon. And I could never go back. I could never. I'd be a terrible employee.
It's cool being a terrible employee, man. It's awesome.
No.
Go home every day with no worries whatsoever. You just kind of do your thing.
There is something to be said for that. Yes, because it's kind of 24/7. But yeah, that would be nice. Like I don't remember what weekends were like before. Like when I had a Monday through Friday 9 to 5, yeah. I don't even remember what I had a free weekend. What is that like? I have no idea.
Let me tell you about it, right? You just drink with your friends all weekend. It's great.
Not the case for me, but that's all right. I'll take the trade-off.
Yeah. You're setting your family up for a better life in the future. That's, I'm just
that's it. And honestly, I want to do all those things that you talked about. I want to coach and, or whatever my kids are into, I want to be around. I want to be a part of it. We lost daycare twice for my daughter in this last fall and then again in the spring. And I mean, if I had a regular job, I mean, how would that have worked? What would we have done? I mean, my wife couldn't stay home. Like, she provides the insurance. So like that wasn't going to happen. So like it was frustrating and challenging, but at the same time, like I got to be home and hang out with my daughter and stuff. And that was cool. I mean, I'll never get that time back. Right. Like that's an experience I got to have. And so, I mean, it's all worth it in the end.
Are you into the dress phase yet? Is your old one old enough to be like in dresses and stuff? Because we just had this talk yesterday how my daughters used to run around every day. There was like 7. They'd be Ariel for 5 minutes, and then they'd be Cinderella for 5 minutes. Not quite yet. I got married like 5 times a day. I was always Prince Charming. It was super.
Not yet. We haven't got there yet. She does do all the running around and she gets into a lot of trouble, but she doesn't so far she's not doing any of that. She just likes to go into rooms and take all the clothes out of drawers, just throw them on the floor, but she doesn't put them on. So,
yeah. What's your favorite Sunday afternoon munching food where you're glued to the TV watching Scott Hansen on Red Zone?
Yeah. I love food. So like literally anything. If it's, perfect Sunday sitting in front of Red Zone, which by the way is the greatest thing ever. Like I was there from day one. I saw the very first minute of Red Zone and I probably haven't missed many minutes since, like I literally plan my weeks around it. And like I'm there every Sunday. Probably like perfect scenario would be like wings. I like to just have some wings. I'll make them myself at home. Have some good recipes for that. Probably wings or nachos. Or actually, you know what? Here's my favorite. It's taco dip.
Ugh.
Taco dip. My own personal recipe for it. None of that bullshit with the beans or whatever. No.
Your own taco.
Got my own recipe for that, and it's taco dip. That would be my favorite number one snack.
That's original, but I never answered this question with anybody before, I guess, but I can't have one food. Like I need to start off with potato skins and fried mushrooms, and then I need to move on to some pizza, and then I get a combo, and then like as the night goes on, then I'm getting into wings and everything else. That's the part of the party platter that comes there.
Right.
I don't know. I ask this question to everybody, and they try to like narrow it down to one thing. I don't think there is one food that I could ever say like every Sunday I need this.
That's true.
Some people are like nachos. I make this big nacho platter every Sunday. It's this big. It's got meat and beef and pulled pork.
Right.
I don't have that. I'm a variety guy. I'm more of a quantity than quality kind of person, So that's where I say that. But I get it.
I get it.
Yeah. So every week we talk about some commissioner stuff, where leagues are playing and everything like that. We kind of pick your brain and see where people stand as far as their fantasy and dynasty community. When did you start playing fantasy football? And are you more of a redraft dynasty guy? We already answered the question, earlier in the show, saying that you're a dynasty guy. So we've all went down that rabbit hole. I think at this point in time, if you've been in for more than 3 or 4 years, and I think dynasty was never even a thing back. And I started playing in 1997, and there was no. I mean, it was just redraft, no PPR, no nothing, no anything. So that was all. It was basic. There wasn't even a website. You had to drop yourself off the commissioner's house when you wanted to put your lineup in. It was and if you like, it wasn't even free agency. If you did, if your guy was out Monday Night Football, you just got a zero. And that's just the way it was. So
wow,
it's those are the good old days when at 11:59 on Sunday morning, you called in your lineup, and that was that was it. It was what it was. If your guy died, or you got a zero. If you're
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where it was redraft, and then it was like, oh, well, you could do a keeper league, and and then you could keep a couple players, and then you're like, wow, oh man, playing in this keeper league, it makes me really think ahead. So now I'm better at redraft, and then it's like, oh man, and then there's dynasty, and then oh wow, I'm playing dynasty. Now I'm really good at redraft and keeper leagues because I know all the rookies. I'm doing that, and then they're like, oh, you should play Debbie because then you know all the rookies ahead of time. And you know what to do with your picks. And then the next thing you know, you're drafting like freaking high school players. Like, what is that? Like, you got to just draw the line somewhere, man. It's out of control.
I have not gone on an IDP rabbit hole yet. I have not gone on a Debbie thing. There's people that do things good. I do fantasy football leagues. There's people that do things good, and I'll listen to the guys who do their Debbie stuff, and I'll look at, I'll listen to Matt Waldman. I'll listen to, some guys at Ray GQ, whatever, some of the stuff he says. I'll just take the guys who do this for a living and say, okay, here it is. I look at their ranks. I'll kind of do their stuff, get familiar with people, and then I'll watch some tape. And when I have nothing but time at work, some YouTube videos. But it's hard unless you watch every play of these guys. You're not going to know. You're not going to know. Yeah. You're just going to see their firework plays. You're not going to see their how they messed up or what routes they messed up or nothing. It is. People get paid to do this kind of stuff, and I like reading their stuff. It makes it so much easier.
Totally agree. I
usually ask this to most people, but I kind of have the answer for this one already. Do you play in any local home leagues or just online leagues? Some people have never heard of a home league. They have no idea what it's like to sit in front of a at a draft and put stickers on a board and that kind of stuff. They're like, a home league. How do you do that? The stickers go on the board. Like, who puts stickers on the board for you? What's going on? I'm like, well, you get a big board and it's like $19 and then you put stickers on the board and you draft your team and everybody's, no matter, you can put Patrick Mahomes on there 101. Everybody, what a stupid play. What an idiot. You make funny. Everything you do, you get made fun of.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who it is or where it is. It's,
Right. Exactly. I mean, someone could fall through the cracks in the 25th round. You can get Saquon Barkley, and they'd be like, "Oh yeah, I saw him earlier. I was going to draft him, but I knew he was going to get hurt this year. So
right.
I never pick him."
Well, the funny thing is, I did a redraft league with my friend worked at a restaurant, and so we basically they closed the restaurant early one night because all the people that worked there were in the league. And they needed an extra person. So my buddy's like, oh man, my friend's obsessed. He'll do it. He'll meet us over here at 10 o'clock or whatever. It's 10 o'clock on a random Tuesday night or whatever. I go over and we did the draft in person. And I mean, I absolutely crushed it because you were talking about earlier, there's some old guy with the sheet from last year. There's some other guy with a magazine. And I'm like, I could tell you every player on every roster. I just destroyed this draft. There's no ADP sitting in front of them that's helping them draft and everything. So I was like, this in-person thing is insane. This is awesome. I got to get in these leagues, man. I will just crush everyone. And then the funny thing is, as I transitioned to Dynasty over time, it was I never even considered a local live Dynasty league until you reached out to me and you're like, yeah, dude, we do them just the same. It's just like redraft. You're just doing the rookies instead of the whole draft. I was like, oh man, yeah, I didn't even think of that. I mean, so I don't know why, but I didn't. So yeah, I mean, it was awesome. And then obviously I got to come to the rookie draft we had in the spring in the league that I got in with you, and that was awesome, man. Just it's a whole different level of rapport, right? Because now you get to meet the people, and you realize. They're people with lives and personalities and, and you kind of get to see that and it makes it more fun. Number one, because you're like, oh, I'm going against, this guy right now and I'm going to talk shit, whatever. And then also it kind of helps sometimes too with trading because you're like, oh man, I know what this guy likes or what his strategy is and things like that. And so it's cool. It's fun. It's very different, but it's definitely, I think everybody should be in some sort of local or home league that does in person because it just changes everything. It's awesome.
I run 8 dynasty league in-home dynasty leagues that I'm the commissioner of. So
that's nuts.
I have there's a couple people who are across the board on all of my. There's 2 or 3 that are in all of my leagues that guys I've known since kindergarten.
That's cool.
That I still hang out with, So, and there's a couple guys that are not in all of them. They don't want to be in that many. They don't want to whatever. But I'm in all 8 of them because I run them and I like playing. And but I mean, all the people you met from this league, just the Steven Johnson, the P. Wynn, Vince and Kyle August.
Kyle.
I'm in leagues with Evan Silva. I'm in leagues with Waz. I'm in leagues with there's tons of guys that live in this area that are Amar, Nick Script, who's I'm on his channel right now. You wouldn't believe in this. I was with Tagliere. I was in local leagues. He lived like a couple blocks away from me. It was it's just super when you could do this stuff with just local people. It's fun playing with your friends back in the day, but half of your friends that you grew up with are like, oh, it's football. Yeah, I'll go to the draft. And halfway through, they're like, not even, you got to tell them, hey, dude, you guys set your lineups 11:50. When you're in leagues with serious people who a lot of these guys do podcasts, they write articles, they get paid to do this for a living. They're in touch. These leagues are so much better when it's actually people from what I found on Twitter to stick in a league together and be a competitive league where there's trading all the time. At least there's, I go in my inbox, I get like 17 inbox trades out almost every day, like from these leagues, this guy, this.
Right.
Most of them are trash, just like the ones I send out, but it's fun to say like, I counter everything. Everything that comes in, I'm like, okay, this, that, the other. And it's a decline. It's a decline. Half the time you tell somebody's joking, but at least I know who they want from me and they know who I want from them. So a couple of weeks later, like, what about this? What about that? It keeps things so interesting, So that's what Dynasty does. Redraft is the same thing. As soon as you go 0-4, it turns into like, hey, pay my entrance fee next year and give me a case of beer, and you can
right.
It's like this is
right.
Shit,
dude.
Dynasty is so much better. No, not cool at all. But I'm in like the European Fantasy Football League and a couple redraft leagues and stuff like that at Scott Fishbowl. But most of my leagues are in person, So I'm in I think 7 or 8 redraft leagues and 2 other dynasty leagues that are in like online, which I just kind of got roped into, which I never had redraft or dynasty leagues online before, but I picked up orphans for some guys that were one guy died in the league, one guy had something else going on. So I'm like, all right, I'll take it over. So
I think most of mine, I have, MFL is kind of my main, I want to get to as few platforms as possible. So most of them I manage through MFL, but I'm in a variety of them with even like safe leagues and Scott Fishbowl, of course. But yeah, some of them, it's like the safe leagues are just totally different, right? It's literally the opposite of what we just talked about. Because it's like, you don't know these people, you have no communication with them. Like it's just, it's so weird. Like it's, in some cases you can do really well because you don't really care. You don't know who they are, I guess. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it can be not as fun. It can just be less, I guess, less interesting and maybe you don't give it as much attention because you're not as involved. Right. So like I can tell you, I look at our league basically daily. Right. Because I know there's always something going on. There's always somebody in the chat. There's always something happening, Well, whereas like safe leagues is kind of like, whatever. So I'm in less of those leagues for sure. But I don't know. You know how I feel about sleeper. So
this is where me having a 9 to 5 or I'm on a 12-hour shift, rotating 12s with 4 days off in between. So I just took 4 vacation days. I have 13 straight days off with not one worry in the world, So it's I sent out probably 65 trades today with nothing, in between folding laundry and doing painting with my daughter, that kind of stuff. It is awesome. I'm in every group chat every day, no matter what. I'll just initiate a chat, and I initiate trades in all my leagues too because I want to see people, even if they razz or do whatever. This is a local league showing up at our. When we have the individual lotto, the lotto, we were out there.
Yes.
Where you get who's got the first 6 picks, who's got someone. That's super cool because everybody, it's a lottery. Everybody's interested in it. People want to tape it. Like, you're not cheating. I want to see that thing videotaped live.
Yeah, right.
And then the draft itself, it's so cool going to everybody's house, and the winner of the toilet bowl gets to pick the draft lottery location. Winner league gets to pick the league draft. It's set up like that in most of my leagues,
That's awesome. That's a great setup. It's fun. It just adds something to it, It's fun, and even if you have to drive a long way, then your argument is, well, hey, just win the damn league and you can make everybody else drive. So,
Yeah. I like when everybody says, I won the league, but I can't make it this year. So, the commissioner gets to pick. And I'm like, all right, my backyard or the local bars, 5 minutes away, McBride's it is. All right, great.
Yeah,
Which is your favorite site? Because unfortunately, all these leagues, I'm in MFL, ESPN, Yahoo, CBS, all this stuff. And it's like, now I'm setting 19 lineups. And I got to go 3 in sleeper, 4 in MFL,
Sucks.
this and it's like, this is bullshit.
It's the worst part. That's the worst part. It's probably the only part I don't like. Yeah,
and
lineups are terrible.
Every like MFL, like every third time you go in there, you got to re-sign in again. Like with Yahoo's, like Yahoo the app's pretty good, but sometimes it knocks you out and you got to do some kind of code and stuff. And it's like, oh my god, I have 15 minutes. I got to set 19 lineups.
Right.
This couldn't all happen on the same day. It's bullshit.
Yeah. But, I mean, because I'm in so many leagues, I have a process. So. I mean, it starts today. It starts on Tuesdays. And, I go through and I essentially empty my lineup. And what I mean by that is I bench everyone.
I saw this and I was wondering about this. So here we go.
And so people who don't understand, they freak out and like, what is this guy doing? What is he not starting? It's like, dude, it's Tuesday. Calm down. But what I do then is it's like I plug in the guys that I know for like, do I have any Thursday night players? Okay, let's get those guys in my lineup, and then I start looking and seeing like, all right, some lineups are fully set at this point because between bye weeks, injuries, and whatever else, this is who I have to start for the week. So it might be fully set on Tuesday, right? But in some cases, I may only have 2, 3, 4 players in my lineup at that point, and then we'll go through waivers, and then Thursday will come around, and then I'll make a decision if I'm doing Thursday nights, and I'll run through all my lineups on Thursdays. And then I usually check a few on Friday, a few on Saturday, and then Sunday morning I go through and check all my notes and make sure that I watch for injuries and all that and do my final lineup on that. So it's kind of a process. Like I'm literally doing lineups every day, but it's because in the beginning I didn't do that, and I spent literally like 5 hours every Sunday morning, and it's not possible with 2 kids and work and all that. I can't carve that out every Sunday morning. So with this process, it helps a lot. I do think, sleeper for me, the main issue I've run into there is like when I have Bears season tickets. And so when I go to a Bears game, for whatever reason, sleeper will not load for me. Like when I'm in like a crowded, like busy area, like when I'm in the city, it won't load. So like I cannot set lineups. So yeah, I've never had a problem with MFL for some reason, but I usually do most of my MFL stuff I'm doing from my desktop anyway, and then I'm only doing like if I need to swap somebody out or something last minute, like that's the only thing I'm doing from the app. But yeah, so sleeper drives me nuts sometimes with that, but it is obviously the app is a lot easier to use. It's a little more user friendly, which is nice. But yeah, the vast majority of my leagues, I think I'm down to 1 on ESPN, which we've been in for 20 years. And then I've got like 2, I think, on Yahoo. And I think a couple 15, 20 on Sleeper and another 25, 30 on MFL. So
ESPN's app isn't really that bad either. It's kind of, I feel like ESPN is like, we had ESPN for probably 10 years, and then I switched to Sleeper. And I tried going to MFL with a bunch of guys who are not like.
We can't go from ESPN to MFL. It doesn't work.
As a commissioner, I was like, this is the best thing ever. I get to put in I'm a points guy, so I like having 100 million points in every game. You can get 1 extra point for 10 yards of receiving and a 20-yard reception and a 30-yard reception.
58 pages of setup.
This is absolutely awesome.
Right.
He's like, this is bullshit. I can't log in. My app doesn't work. I can't. Yeah, it didn't go so well. So they're like, yes, so we went back to ESPN for a year. Then I found Sleeper, and I'm like, guys, you have to give it a chance for a year. It was like ESPN like plus. It had all it does dynasty way better. It does everything better. It has so it's if you're used to ESPN, Sleeper and transition to Sleeper is very
definitely.
Good. I hate
definitely.
Yahoo. Yeah, I just
not a fan. Not a fan.
And then so CBS is expensive, to be on there.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't even like it. I don't know if I guess it all depends on where you started at and what you grew up on using, but
definitely.
I always loved ESPN, but I've seen Yahoo is so much better. If Yahoo had all the settings that MFL had, there would be no such thing as MFL anymore. That's just the only
Yeah.
Really, it would be, as I love all the MFL settings, and I love that Scott Fishbowl gets to have those big leagues. And I was in a contract year league with salary cap, and you can't do that in Sleeper yet. It's
right.
But those are hard to trade in anyway. I found out me and Mike Tagliere shared a team there, and first of all, he hates trading, or he hated trading, as far as that goes. So I'd go for 3 weeks trying to set up this awesome trade, and Mike would be like, no, I want to keep AJ Green. I'm like, dude, I'm getting. What are you talking about, man? Like, come on. Like, so having a partner in leagues is hard enough, let alone having Mike Tagliere as a partner and telling him.
I co-manage a contract league with 2 other people, and it's 16 teams. It is brutal. It's absolutely brutal, and we're actually in first place right now. But it's still brutal because even like lineups, we argue about it all the time. Like we had the biggest argument, like Bryan Edwards versus AJ Green on Sunday, and I was like, well, dude, like everybody's out for Arizona. Hopkins not playing. Rondale Moore's not playing. I was like, Bryan Edwards hasn't done shit all season. He's terrible. He hasn't done anything. And then one guy's like, Bryan Edwards is like his guy. That was his guy from the draft. So like, he's like, well, I set the lineup. I put him in. I'm leaving him in. I'm not changing it. If one of you wants to change it, you change it. Cause I can't go against my guy. And then it's like, I'm going to put in AJ Green cause this is just dumb. Then I ended up, I was like, you know what? I gotta leave Edwards in because here's what's gonna happen. If I pull him out, he's gonna have a big game.
Right.
Okay. And if I leave him in, then I can at least blame that guy for saying I'm leaving him in. So I'm leaving it. It finally worked out for us, but it's just kind of been that season like where we've had a lot of luck. But you really get to know people when you go manage a team with them.
A little better than you want sometimes, yes.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh man, that's it. Do you like playing in a bunch of variety leagues, or you like all your leagues to be like streamlined, like with the same rules, so you can just kind of plug and play all your leagues, or you like having like all that money in contract leagues, and then like a non PPR league, and then like all this kind of stuff? How do you like to have your league? Is it you like it when it's harder everywhere you turn, or you like it just kind of having all leagues kind of set up the same almost?
So as I started getting bored with redraft, I started doing different things, auction leagues and IDPs and things like that. And then when I got into Dynasty, I realized that I wanted them streamlined, right? Because that way I didn't have to think so much. I'd be like, listen, I like these players. I don't like these players. Well, this is easy. I know the approximate values are going to be the same, within reason through all these leagues. So I have a bunch of the same leagues. But what happened was at that time was really the big transition for me from one quarterback to Superflex. And once I got into Superflex leagues, I learned that you have to have tight end premium to balance it out. And then I like to have the variety of like different team builds. So some of them where it's, the classic kind of start 9, start 10. Some of them I'm in like these all flex leagues where it's like one minimum, like one quarterback, one running back, one receiver, one tight end. And then you have like 7 flexes, right? And like, you think maybe that's weird, but it's actually fun because then you can kind of build your roster a different way. You can try different strategies. And so now I've kind of branched out and I've gone the variety way. So I have just all sorts of different leagues. I just joined a campus Canton league this year where you have like a college team and then those players will transition to the NFL, if they make it to your NFL squad. So we run the college one on Fantrax and the NFL one on MFL. So again, just different variety, different things. But I will say that I have a couple things that I will not join any new leagues that are one quarterback.
Yeah,
it just doesn't do anything for me. Like you basically can ignore a quarterback.
Right.
You don't need one. And then you can, especially if it's not tight end premium, you can pretty much ignore tight end too. So it's kind of boring. So it's got to be super flex. And I don't have any leagues with less than 12 teams. I prefer 14. I'm okay with 16. But most of the leagues that I've found myself in lately have been like 36 team, 48 team. And then they're multiple copy leagues. So it really comes down to like, it still equates to a 12 team. So like a 36 team, 3 copy league is still a 12 team league if you look at it that way. But the advantage is that now there are 3 copies of players, right? So you have more trade partners and then you have more opportunity. Like sometimes you have that guy that he gets his favorite player and he's not trading him no matter what.
Right.
He won't trade him. He's unrealistic on value and whatever. Well, guess what? There's 2 other copies out there, right? And the other part I like about that is sometimes somebody pays for a player that you have, and you're like, oh, he got that much for him? I was like, man, I'm going to sell him now too, right? So, like, sometimes the market gets set for that player, and then you can go take advantage. So
Nice.
I find myself liking some of those things too. So the variety keeps it interesting. But sometimes I screw up because I don't remember that it's, this one's half PPR and this one's a bonus league, and so for the most part, I just figure it'll even out.
Yeah, that's I like a little bit of variety too. But I do like to have my most important leagues kind of streamlined. I kind of see it that way. I don't mind playing the fishbowl for a year, with all these crazy settings, or the EFFC, the European Fantasy Football Contest. I'm in that too. They have kind of fishbowl like rules. Some people, a lot of these things, people just throw things together and they have like the exact standard rules that are on ESPN just to kind of get a league together. And it's like, man, this is so boring. It's PPR and that's it. Like, I need to. I think next year I'm not going to do any redraft leagues. I'm going to go right to dynasty. Probably start one more dynasty league with just another home people, another home league, and just call it a day. And then that'll probably be it for me. As far as I'm almost caught up to your trade addicts leagues, man. I'm almost have as many of those guys too.
Yeah, and baby,
I got 10. I'm an 8, so I'll be probably 9 next year. But they are a little more popular than what I am. But nobody really cares about my home leagues.
Right. Well, and it's more restrictive, so it's actually more impressive. Your 8 is more impressive because the 10 can come from anywhere. Right, it could be, we have people from Europe. We have, there's people from all over the world, really, in those 10 trade addicts leagues. So,
I have 8 Illinois teams.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that's more impressive. Hard to find people locally, I would say, that are as dedicated.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I never looked at it that way.
Yeah, there you go.
What's the best year to start up a taxi squad? We went over this in our league, and nobody can really agree on rules. But some of the other ones, it's like we start out year 1 with 25 players. Year 2, the rookie draft gets imported, and it's 30 players. And we leave it at 30, but we start a taxi squad, which is kind of the same thing as going to 35. But those guys, you can just kind of keep them on the side in that taxi squad and not have to worry about them progressing the first year. So it's kind of like having a little. We don't get to some leagues. There's 2 leagues that you actually can bid on scouting team players. So you actually could poach from different people's benches, but yes. So,
I think so. Most of my leagues are 30, 35, 40 rosters. So some of them are basically just you don't have any IR or taxi. It's like 35 roster spots. Here it is. And that's fine. It keeps things simple. And on MFL, it works really well because there's a loophole on MFL that if you put your players in taxi, they don't count towards the potential points.
Right.
And so that's kind of a problem for tanking because ideally tanking, you should be starting your best lineup to not give advantage to the opponents, but you should be trading away your veterans and your productive players. I mean, that's the right way to tank. But if all of a sudden you draft, Trevor Lawrence and, Jamar Chase and Najee Harris, and you put them all in your taxi squad, well, now they're not counting towards your potential points. So you can not only not start them, but they don't even count. So you might have pick 101 again next year. And so it's a loophole. And so if that's how your league does it, that's fine. It's fair for everybody, but it's definitely something that, in the case where you have 35 roster spots and there's no taxi and whatever, then it just makes it a lot. I guess it makes it more fair. Think about it that way.
Are you allowed to fix that in NFL, or they have it that way and you can't do anything about it?
Yeah, you can't do anything about it, unfortunately. So the only thing you do is just get rid of taxi squad. So you just have maybe more roster spots. But my argument for taxi squad is what I've seen over the years is essentially any pick past the second round, any rookie pick past the second round is worthless. Because if you don't have somewhere to kind of stash that player, they're just going to get dropped.
Yeah.
I mean, inevitably, you go through a season, there's injuries and bye weeks, and so many things happen. Like, they're pointless. And so what happens then is they don't get traded, and then there's literally no reason to have them. So that's why I like the taxi squad, to be able to say, okay, here we've got this spot for your players to develop, because that's the point, right? Is you're trying to find those deeper players, and you want to hold on to them for a couple years to see if anything happens. I mean, people are so spoiled nowadays from rookie from day one, they're just a stud, and it's like that's just not. It's still such a small percentage. So I think you need to have as many taxi spots as you have rounds in your rookie draft. So if it's a 4-round rookie draft, have 4 taxi spots. And I think you can start it from year one, but it depends. If you do a startup with rookies in it, then you don't need to. But if you do, my favorite way to do a startup is do it separate. So you do your vet startup with a separate rookie draft, which then allows in the startup a lot more maneuvering, because now you have rookie picks right away that you can maneuver around. You can move up, you can move back, you can trade those around. Yeah. And in that case, it would be okay to have that taxi squad, because you can fill out your vet roster, make your moves, whatever you need to do. And then you have your rookie draft. It doesn't affect necessarily, well, now I'm going to drop 4 guys that I just drafted. That doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that, right? You just put them on your taxi squad. So that's how I would say it. If you're going to do it all in one, no need for it. If they're separate, then I'd make the argument for it.
When you say that, do you have your startup draft where you actually draft picks instead of players before the draft, or do you do it separately altogether?
Yeah, I've done that too. I've not done well in it, so I'm not a huge fan of it. Picks, we know how it works, right? Picks gain in value the closer we get to the rookie draft, right? But if you're doing your startup a month before the rookie draft, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to. What I don't like, and what I guess just maybe I'm not good at it, and that's why I don't like it, is basically having a team without rookie picks when you start. Like, it just doesn't. I want to have them at least, so that if I choose to trade them in the startup and not have them, then that's fine, because at least then I use them. They were an asset that I used. But if somebody just starts taking all the picks, and you're like, well, I guess I don't have any picks. Then I don't have that currency to maneuver one way or the other, because I don't know how the season's gonna. First of all, in a startup, you have no idea how it's gonna shake out. Right. Second of all, in March or April, or I've done some as early as January, you have no idea what the season's gonna be like. And so it's just, I want to have that currency to move in, out, up, down, buy veterans, sell, whatever. I just want to have that available to me. If my first picks aren't until 2 years from now, nobody cares. So then you're kind of stuck, and then you can't really do anything. So I don't really like doing a startup with the picks if we're before the draft, or I don't even really like doing them with rookies, to be honest with you. Yeah. I'd rather do 2 separate ones. Those to me are more fun.
Nice. What do you do to prepare for every season to make yourself better and more informed fantasy football player?
A lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and we talked about some of the guys earlier, like Matt Waldman and Ray GQ and all those guys. So I have probably 40, 50 podcasts in my rotation. And some of them are more like in season. Some of them are more, rookie time. And I kind of find my balance of, I listen to data guys, I listen to film guys, I read a lot of articles. I have resources that support my business, right? My business is dynasty leagues. And so my resources then is I have subscriptions. I have, DLF and BTC and Fantasy Pros and just these different PFF, Analytics of Dynasty, the Black Book by Joe Pisapia. I mean, I spend a percentage of my buy-ins goes towards resources. So I'm reading, I'm listening, I'm doing everything, man. Like I want all the knowledge so that I can.
I have 50. I have 52 podcasts I subscribe to, all that I'm in the same.
52. Okay.
I work at a data center, and I walk around all day long with my earphones in and my scratch pad open. And that's what I do all the time is I listen to these podcasts and I write notes down all year long, especially in the off season when it's rookie time. It's absolutely awesome that way.
32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44, 46. So 46. But
right
now
there.
our dynasty, there's a couple of like real estate financial ones in there. So approximately 40. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Like it's
I couldn't imagine only listening to fantasy pros or only listening to
no. I want all the perspectives,
Right. I love I don't listen to too many Debbie stuff until the off season, and even then, it's like,
Sure.
all right, it's like nothing else. So everybody goes down like one show a week or one show,
right? Got to fill my time with something.
Yeah, I'll do that. But yeah, the same thing, man. There's the off season stuff with that's my favorite time to listen to podcasts because now I'm getting a lot of the same things in all these podcasts, and it's like,
right.
I try to do something different, like we're doing today, like just kind of interview people, talk about stuff.
Yes.
It's not the same, like who we pick up this week or who we dropping this week or that kind of stuff. Get to know the guys who I listen to on these podcasts. I listen to you all the time on on the Junkies and on the Trade Addicts.
Right.
And,
right.
You're on different podcasts all the time, and like, oh, Sidlo's on this. I'll listen. Cool. Or the variety is the spice of life, and to hear 5 or 6 different people's opinions and stuff. That's and I'll write down, like I do my rankings the same way. I'll take rankings from 7 or 8 different sites, or 7 or 8 guys that I know that I trust.
Okay.
And I'll take their individual 50 quarterbacks, individual 50 tight ends, 125 running backs, 125 receivers. This is cool. I have a lot of time on my hands, even when I do it sometimes at work.
That's awesome though. Yeah.
I'll do the top 300 in Dynasty also from all 7 guys. I'll add them all together when I average them out, and I'll add them all together. And then I have last month's, and I'll compare the trend and see who moved up, how many spots up and down. So I don't know individual, like I can't tell you how many catches Joe Blow had last week or how many drop passes he had last week, but I can tell you over the last 6 months who's trended the most or who's done this or this that. So that's my cheat code, I guess, or how I stay informed. I do my own stuff. I can't look at a sheet of paper that somebody else did and learn from it. I have to do it myself. So it takes a lot of time for me to do what I do. But I've learned, especially it showed me how to use Google Sheets too. So I've gotten to be really good at Sheets doing this stuff, coloring everything, moving, adding, subtracting, this and that. So I've taught myself how to use it, and it's super cool. Now I have notes from the last 7 or 8 years on
That's awesome.
And the best part about it, like, is in the rookie stuff, like even in the off season, when I'm going to kind of show it on here, even though people know, I don't know who's going to see it. This is all my research from it's on my sheet. It's all my research from every rookie there's 106 rookies from DLF, from every other site. And it says what they did, how much they moved in the off season, where they went. So I have all these notes, like even like halfway during the season when I'm looking to trade for somebody, I look back and say, what did Matt Waldman say about this guy in the offseason? What did GQ say about this guy? And I'll go back and say, I don't know. They said he's going to be just a guy or so-and-so, And so it's I have so much stupid knowledge that, that I don't know. In my head, it's important, but people are like, what are you doing to yourself? Do you know anything else besides fantasy football? I'm like, no, not really.
No.
It's fun. So
that's amazing. I mean, I have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets as well. I track I actually do like my own rookie ADP.
Yes.
So I figure being in 46 leagues is enough of like a mini market to kind of track my own ADP essentially, and just the early ones to the late ones. And what I've found that's really interesting is year to year, the one thing that I've noticed is the earlier my rookie drafts are, the better I do. And is that because of all the time I spend listening and reading and researching? And then everybody seems to kind of catch up over the summer, and some of those later ones now, everybody knows pretty much, things are what they are, right? Yeah. So the advantage for me is to have those earlier. So whenever we have like somebody in the league starts getting the itch and they're like, hey, anybody want to move up the rookie draft or whatever? I'm like, yeah, let's do it, baby. The earlier we can, like hell, I have some that literally start as soon as the NFL draft ends. So that last pick on, Saturday, round 7, Mr. Irrelevant, and then boom, we start our draft. Now there's no clock on it, because obviously it's April. It doesn't matter. And we'll start it right away that Saturday night. There's usually only a few picks, maybe the rest of the weekend, but then we'll turn on like a 24-hour clock and guys will make their picks. And over that next week, it's real interesting because you haven't really had any time to get analysis from people on landing spots or things like that. You're just kind of going on talent, and we actually voted in a league last year, or actually this year after our rookie draft, we voted for next season. We're going to do our rookie draft before the NFL draft.
Wow.
So just kind of a little twist that's like, again, for me, I think that's going to be an advantage, right? Because I'm doing Devy leagues and I'm following Devy guys and I'm learning more about some of the rookies and stuff. So I think maybe that might be an advantage for me. I'm hoping it is anyway. Otherwise I might be in trouble. But I think it'll be interesting to see how that goes,
Most of the top 15 guys, like over my, just because we're talking about this, my trending of guys that moved the most in the offseason, like the ones that moved the most, like Josh Palmer moved like 50 spots up in the rankings as far as that goes. And then like Amir Smith-Marset, because of his ability, they figured he'd come in and be the number one receiver. He moved up 35 spots, like up, better in the rankings. Chris Evans moved up like 32 spots. Jalen Darden, Tommy Tremble. Who else moved up a lot? Cornell Powell moved up a lot, and he never really panned out. But a lot of the guys who were already the guys in the top 15, 20 didn't really move that much. So, and a lot of guys that moved so much farther downstream or upstream, Davis Mills, the guys who, and then there's other ones like the
landing spot.
Daz Newsome fell a lot. He's a nobody, as far as that goes. Jamar Jefferson went down 32 spots, and then he ended up, just a bad landing spot. He's behind a couple good players. He had a solid running back and a solid backup on the same team. So they're like, Javian Hawkins, he never really panned out anyway. But there's the trending of these guys in the offseason. This is where, sometimes when you look at just the trending stuff like that, it's like, maybe I could just take a stab at this guy. But why did he move up so much? What didn't they see for him to move up 35 spots? What did they see now? Just because he landed on Kansas City, just because this and that? Is that what it's all about? So you got to be careful. Like, everybody kind of goes with one person sets the tone, and everybody else kind of like, oh, well, he said this and he said that, so let's all do it too, and then all your rankings start going towards somebody like Josh Palmer or whoever. Which I still like Josh Palmer. I'm trying to get him every year.
Me too.
So it's But it's funny that everybody kind of goes the same way. And I wonder how much they sway, like us knowing about Josh Palmer, just the stuff I saw from him, because a lot of people put out the YouTube of Josh Palmer and everybody looks good. I call it watching fireworks. Like, I don't know. I've sat and watched film all through high school, in college. I know what film is, but the problem was I knew the play before the play started. So I could tell you it was a 32, the 32 whopper. It was a, an X24 set, I knew what the play was. So I knew what the quarterback's first read was going to be, where he was going to throw the ball. I knew a lot of those. You knew
the route the receiver was supposed to run.
Well, I'm not a receiver. I'm an offensive lineman. I'm a left tackle. So I just
knew. Okay, well, I know the routes because I was a receiver. So.
Well, let's see. There you go. So here's my biggest thing is, how do people in this fantasy football space watch film without knowing the play first? How can you agree. Because how do you know that quarterback is supposed to be a 3-step drop, and then he's supposed to turn like Tom Brady does, 1, 2, 3, go. It doesn't matter where receiver's at. He's throwing the ball to that spot. That's his first read. He knows where the safety's at. He knows where the linebacker's at. He knows if somebody's one step further back when they're supposed to be. He knows where the play is going before, and he'll audible and say, "Oh, the linebacker's back 2 steps," or "Hey, they're playing too far to the left. They're covering the tight end instead of the slot receiver." How do you know watching film? How do you know what to watch? How do you know what to watch for if you don't know the play? That's my biggest thing. So you're just watching. I call it watching fireworks because you're just watching. Oh, look at he went through the hole. How do you know that Saquon Barkley wasn't supposed to go through the 3 hole, but he went through he went through the 4 hole instead because the play broke down. It's like, oh, did you Saquon? He saw that hole right there. Well, actually, the thing broke down because it was zone blocking, and everybody went this way. He found a cut back in there. Like, It's tough for me to watch. It's tough for me to listen to analysts that watch film, but I can kind of almost tell they don't know what they're talking about when they're watching film.
Well, that's I think why I don't want to speak for him obviously, but I think that's why like Matt Waldman, who I'm a huge fan of, the rookie scouting portfolio. I think one of the reasons that he literally made notes, like his notes that he took he put in there so you could actually read like what he's watching and what he's, because he'll say the same thing. He'll be like, listen, I don't know if that's what he was supposed to do, but here's what I saw from him, and here's what I, and he would compare and think about, okay, how is that route supposed to be run, and how are his feet supposed to move, and his hands, and getting off the line and doing it, and so he'll look at those type of things, and that's why he would actually include that with it, so you could be on the same page and say like, here's how that is. And then the other part of it is like, a guy can look great on film, but like you don't know what his work ethic is, or what his personality's like, or whatever, and I go back to like Hakeem Butler was one of those guys. Was just amazing, dude. Watch any film you can find of that guy. He was a man child. He was just absolute stud, but you didn't know if he didn't have the work ethic and he couldn't pick up the playbook and things like that. And boom, he's out of the league. I mean, just like that. I mean, so the guy can have all the talent in the world. So that is the problem with film guys. So that's why I kind of like to mix the film and the data and, kind of put everything together and then be able to form my own opinion on it. But I mean, I like to try to watch a lot of college football games too, and just see. The guy needs to kind of pass the eyeball test for me, along with all these other factors. But yeah, I can't. When people do this film versus analytics thing, it's like it's actually neither. it's both. So,
it is both, right? I love Ramondre Stevenson. I finally got him in every league. Last two. He's a guy that if you look at even Matt Waldman, like he blocks well. He can be a goal line back. He's big enough to be that he can run to the outside. I mean, he's not super fast, but he can get to the outside. He can make plays.
Sure.
But he protects the quarterback. He can do everything. Like the Patriots always have a goal line back. They're notorious for having a receiving back.
Yeah.
Ramondre Stevenson is the everything back. He doesn't do it as well as every individual player, but he could do everything, like 85% of everything everybody does. That's why I like the guy, because he could be on the field all the time. When Damian Harris gets hurt again,
he gets hurt
every year. Yeah, exactly. He got a chance, and look at him. Now, everybody saw in the preseason where he was getting all these, the red zone touchdowns. And yeah, that's one of his aspects of his game, though. But it's like, man, he is across the board somebody that I was chasing after, and I couldn't get him in. Guys knew I wanted him because I'm in a couple of people drafted him. Like, you son of a... Yeah, so I don't know. It is what it is. But we can talk about that kind of stuff forever. I like talking about that kind of stuff.
I know, me too.
But we got to get to some other stuff. Injuries, rumors. Baker Mayfield, he's got a knee situation out, maybe 0 to 3 weeks. He can come back. I mean, he's a pretty tough kid. I don't like him as if he was my dynasty starter, I wouldn't be very happy. But he's he gets.
Well, he's playing for a contract, so
we kind of
doesn't have a choice here. So
yeah, he's got to stay. Yeah, no matter what hurts, he's got to stay in there, right?
Yeah.
Antonio Brown, knee aversion or aversion, knee ankle sprain. Maybe another week or two. Chase Edmonds, ankle sprain, 2 to 3 weeks. DeAndre Hopkins, hamstring, 1 to 2 weeks. Kyler Murray, ankle, might be back this week. Stop me if you got anything to say about any of these guys, because I'm just going to kind of saw through them with whatever. Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, it's an arm bruise. He's on the injury report for a contusion.
If you can get any discount for any reason, buy. Literally do anything to buy.
Yeah, I don't think anybody, even if his head fell off, I'd still buy him. But I mean, I don't think anybody's selling him with for anything, because the weeks he has, he's almost untouchable at this point in time. As far as that goes.
Yeah, I know it's unfortunate. I mean, I have a lot of shares, but I wish I had all of them.
Yeah. Dolphins, Devontae Parker, hamstring, 1 to 2 weeks. Another guy that I cannot stand him. The guy's hurt every year, every week. It's such a
terrible.
The Eagles, Dallas Goedert, concussion, possibly 1 week. You never know how bad
that was a nasty hit. That was not good.
Like Matt Waldman says a lot, if a guy suffers concussion situations right from the get-go, it's usually, it's like, okay, it might be a weak situation, but if he has a little bit of a concussion and a couple days later he starts getting symptoms and they get worse, that's when it's like a 3 or 4 week injury. So you never know what's going to happen with concussions as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Jordan Howard, ankle, nobody knows yet. As far as I haven't seen any new updates, a timeline anyway. Miles Sanders, inversion ankle sprain. He should be back this week. I think this is his bring back week. Falcons, Cordell Patterson, who I don't understand how this guy never became like the man on any team. He's the best at everything, but he just can't seem to land anywhere. I've heard a lot of rumors about him not being able to pick up playbooks and stuff like that.
It's got to be something like that.
How do you go everywhere and be a stud for 5 or 6 weeks everywhere you go on every team you've ever been on and just never be like the lead guy anywhere?
Yeah,
I don't get it. But
weird.
2 to 4 weeks for an ankle injury for him. Saquon Barkley, we're still unknown because every week is a possibility, and we'll see.
I think he did practice.
He did come back
yesterday. I believe the 15th Monday he did practice. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Aaron Jones.
I mean, regardless, they're playing Tampa Bay Monday night, and so
yeah,
you can't run on them anyway. So what's the point?
What an awesome defensive line and linebackers.
Yeah, man.
Packers, Aaron Jones, ankle 2 to 4 weeks. That was like a kind of tweaking. I didn't really see it. Didn't look too bad on there, but it's. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be. I think it's going to be shorter timeline there. Plus, he needs to get back because AJ Dillon's going to take his job. I don't even like AJ Dillon, but I just think he's going to take his job, so he's going to want to come back.
Yeah, he's going to. Taking a week off is fine, but everybody knew AJ Dillon was able to. I mean, he's huge, he's fast, he's strong, he can catch too. He is. Yeah, I would be pretty scared. If I was Aaron Jones. So
yeah,
Robert Woods. Offense. ACL. Dude, this is great. On your podcast, I heard you say Robert Woods ACL tear. That must be the reason why they brought in OBJ, and you nailed it, man, before it was even out in the public. So
I mean, I can't wait to clear this up again on Thursday night because it's one of those things where, and I've tried to explain this so many times, like we know the ACL tear from football as the collision sport that it is, and there's usually some crazy play, and it's a traumatic one-time event that tears the ligaments in your knee. You get a helmet on it, it twists a weird way, and that's what tears it. But most ACL tears, like just in general in sports, anywhere out in the world, anyone can tear their ACL. It's a use/wear injury. So what happens is you'll tweak it and it will weaken. And then all of a sudden it'll just be the lightest thing. This is one example I keep giving is like Tiger Woods, the force that he swings a golf club with, right? That knee, he was putting so much pressure on it, just day after day, swing after swing. And then one day he's out jogging and he tears his ACL, and it's like, wait, what? How does that happen? How does, this great athlete just do that? And, even in the NFL, you see it sometimes too. A guy's just out running a route and all of a sudden he just goes down because that's when it tore at that moment. There was some pressure on it, obviously. But the thing is, in the game Sunday, I saw Robert Woods just kind of tweak his knee. It was kind of nothing. I don't even think he really limped. He just kind of got back to the huddle, whatever. I believe it was a third down. It was the end of the series. He was on the sideline, and then he came out. He played the rest of the game, and he was still in practice. But I'm telling you, there was something. I don't know if it was that moment, and I just felt like, okay, maybe he just tweaked it. They don't really know if there's anything wrong yet. Maybe they haven't even done testing yet, but they have this opportunity to get OBJ, so they're going to say, listen, dude, you're going to have a role here, whatever. Because I don't understand why, if they couldn't satisfy Deshaun Jackson's targets, how were they going to keep OBJ happy? There's just no way. There's no way. So, obviously it could be coincidence, but you're telling me that you went out and you signed this guy, and then all of a sudden your main receiver has a torn ACL, your ex receiver has a torn ACL. It just
right.
To me, I just felt like they had to know. They had to know something there. I don't know why. I don't know that there's any agenda to hide it or whatever. So it's just conspiracy, I guess. But I mean, I really felt like they knew Robert Woods tweaked his knee somehow, some way, didn't know what it was or how bad it was. And Robert Woods is a veteran, man. He's been around a long time. He's going to play hurt all the time. He's going to practice hurt because people are like, oh, well, he was at practice. Well, yeah, man. It's week 10 of NFL season, man. Everybody's hurt. Right. You don't necessarily know something's wrong, man. And then all of a sudden you just turn the wrong way, and there you go. So yeah. So really it was, to me, it was the only way that it made sense, because the signing made 0 sense. It made 0 sense. It made absolute why would you have you're having this incredible season? You have great people. You have depth at wide receiver. I mean, Van Jefferson, obviously, he did not have a good night last night, but he's a good receiver. I like him a lot. And you're gonna just bring in this guy who's a known cancer, and there was no upside. You know what I mean? It could only go wrong. There was no upside to it. So I just felt like it had to be something like that. And and then people are giving me shit like, well, you put it in the universe and it happened type of thing. It's like, come on. Like, Jesus Christ, right? Like, dude, it hurts me more than anything. I have a ton of Robert Wood shares on teams that I'm trying to win championships with. So trust me, I don't want it to happen. But yeah. So,
anyway, I heard a bunch of podcasts today that
that's
talking about. Yeah, I heard a bunch of podcasts today, guys talking about like how this team is going to be with OBJ on there and how it's going to change the whole dynamic of the whole team, and it's like, guys, he's taking a guy's job, he's moving this guy over, he's doing so and so. I don't know what's going to happen, man. But
right.
Guys, friends of friends, they got along before. Now OBJ comes in there and starts talking shit to people, and who knows,
Cancer, man, cancer.
Yeah. We'll move on to Saints. Alvin Kamara, MCL, 2 to 4 weeks. We'll see what happens with that. I just traded away his backup 2 weeks ago for absolutely nothing, and that's what happens when you do those kind of trades.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that one's your fault. Then I blame you.
Yes, it's 100% me. I do that all the time. I have a knack. I smell when guys are going to go off, and I trade them away, and then they go off 2 weeks later. It's like
that's how it works. Like when you traded me Josh Allen before his breakout season.
Yeah, for who was
well, you got Justin Jefferson.
Oh,
you got Justin Jefferson. Yeah. So you're all right. You're all right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I traded you. So I traded you Dak Prescott when I was in the hunt. I traded you away. I traded you Dak Prescott, and I got
Breeze Thomas stack.
Breeze Thomas, and I'm like, this is gonna be great for 3 more years. This is gonna be. I don't really care, and then everything just fell apart. I have such a knack for doing that kind of stuff,
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, man. Take me out to dinner if you need me to reach around from now on, right?
Well, if I win, next year, then we'll do that. Yeah.
All right. Alvin Kamara. All right, Seahawks. Chris Carson. I don't know what's going on with his neck, man. I hear he's possibly coming back, but he's a battering ram when he runs. He's not a guy. He's not a finesse guy. He takes guys head on, runs dudes over. When you have a neck issue, and they're talking about possible, whatever, spinal or base of his spine,
that's scary.
He's not that kind of guy who he just can't change his running style. He's a power back. So I don't know. Chase, here's another guy. It's Chase Claypool with turf toe, 3 to 4 weeks. That is not always a defined injury where you come back in 2 weeks or 2 weeks. Turf toe ruined, ruined careers for people. It's not. They've come a long way with things as far as turf toe. But if you come back too early, and
the only thing you can do is rest.
That's all you can do. There's surgeries for it now that they've kind of through. But I mean, it ruined it ended Deion Sanders' career. It ends a lot of guys' career as far as that goes. So that's rest. I mean, you might as well just shut them down the rest of the season and hope for next year at that point in time, because bringing it back too early is you can do a lot more damage than you do help.
Right. So, right. Kind of like the next guy on the list.
Julio, where's the stretch? Yeah, I just got rid of Julio. This is the first time I did something right. I got rid of Julio like 2 weeks ago, and he found this guy. He's gonna ride off into sunset after probably the end of this year, because he's limping around the field. I feel it's like watching an old horse, kind of like
it's unfortunate, but
it is for the greatest receiver. This was Mike Taglia's favorite guy of all time.
Yes, yes, he was.
Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones, 4 to 6 weeks. Guys come back and he gets hurt again. Yeah, it kind of sucks. But Terry McLaurin, clavicle, 0 to 3 weeks. So you were talking about this. The sleeper update say Terry McLaurin's out. He's out, and then 2 plays later he comes back in, and you're like,
yeah. I didn't mean it this specifically, but it was just like the general updates are so dramatic. Like, give me definitive information. Don't just be like, oh, he's down on the field and it looks bad. And what? Okay, well, what does it mean? Because 3 plays later, when he's back in the game, all you did was create. Like, I can't take him out of my lineup. He's already playing. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, I don't like the drama. Whatever.
This makes me happy to see that it makes you this frustrated. Sleeper alerts.
God damn sleeper.
I hate him. Deshaun Watson, he's another story. We don't even care anymore at this point in time. I hope whatever.
No, but hold on. I got to ask you this because in a league where I'm terrible, I'm 0-10. All right, I'm playing for next year, probably 2023, to be honest. I traded the week before I played the guy that I'm battling for the 101 because he's really bad too. Mm-hmm. I traded him essentially Jalen Hurts for Watson. There were a couple other little pieces, but it's essentially straight up Hurts for Watson. So part one
Watson
is
1,000% over Jalen Hurts. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that's that. I mean, I just wanted him to get Hurts points. So that he would essentially separate himself so I could guarantee myself the 101. And that's the short-term play. And then the long-term play is, hey, I think, Hurts is kind of terrible. And he won't be
he's a good, he's one of the definitions of he's a good fantasy quarterback, but not a good real NFL quarterback. So everybody can say, oh, you threw this, now you ran for so many yards. That's great. They won a couple games. They had easy schedules and fortunate situations, but he's not the long-term answer for that franchise. No,
I don't think so either.
I don't want to wish anybody well, bad and say, oh, he's not. I hope he turns his stuff around, but it usually doesn't happen with guys like that. So
no.
All right, waiver wire ads for week 11. Quarterback Cam Newton, Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is very polarizing, and so is Cam Newton, I guess, but. Those are guys, if you play in super flex leagues, you kind of have to add them because, I think most people already had Jimmy Garoppolo, but the Trey Lance situation was scaring people into dropping him. And every time he has a bad game, he's gone. And, Cam Newton, another guy, yes, if you want to run for 12 touchdowns and not throw the ball, that's great, but I just.
That's what he's going to do.
Fantasy quarterbacks. And, I mean, he wins games for football. That's the thing. He's he's like almost like the opposite of.
The opposite of Hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Running back situation, Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots. I'm pretty sure Damian Harris come back this week. Another guy that's probably scared to lose his job. He doesn't want to lose it.
It's a short week, though. They play Thursday, so
he was already at practice today. He didn't get cleared, but he was at practice.
Okay.
In a non-contact jersey, I believe. But, at least he's making his way back. There's, 5 steps to have a concussion protocol, and he's still like 2 or 3 of them already. So,
yeah, okay.
I mean, I would love to have Ramondre Stevenson have another week like this, or just getting the ball all the time and being. I don't think I'm gonna trade him away, even if he does have another good week, and he's at peak performance. Because I love the guy.
Right.
It's one of the guys when you love guys and drafted them, and you're on your team. It's like I don't want to get rid of him that fast because I want to see. He's not going to pan out to be Walter Payton, but at the same time, I like having him on my team. So
of course,
another guy, Wayne Gallman. Like this guy, I've had him in my league probably 75,462 times in my life. I get him and I'm like, yes, I'm going to hold Wayne Gallman. He's going to come in. He's going to do something. I sit. And 9 weeks later, I'm like, all right, I just can't hold Wayne Gallman anymore. And I cut him. And then, all right, then Wayne Gallman because
he's back.
Somebody got hurt and Wayne Gallman steps in. I'm like, one more effing week. And I could have Wayne Gallman in the starting. And, I don't know if he's going to start or not, but he should have,
I dropped 2 shares of him last week. Literally last week. I was like, I couldn't even. I was actually driving on Sunday because we had to go to the city, and I was listening, and they're like, Wayne Gallman has been on the field all game. I was listening to like Joe Dolan on XM radio, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me, man. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you start punching the steering wheel and yelling at your wife, and you're like, this is such bullshit.
Yeah, she's just looking at you like, yeah.
This Wayne Gallman guy must be important.
Yeah. Big client,
Yeah. Jeff Wilson Jr., 49ers, Deonta Foreman for the Titans.
Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, there's 18,000 running backs on that team.
It's fine. He's the guy who obviously is coming off an injury, but he's usually the guy who stays healthy out of all of them. So although Mitchell's been good, but they haven't used him other than 2 weeks ago in the passing game. So Wilson can kind of do everything. Listen, he won me a lot of championships last year.
Yeah.
I plugged him in those last 2 weeks. He crushed it. So you know what? As those especially those deep rosters, end of bench stashes, I mean, that's because here's the thing. Everybody says that. I mean, that's the argument is why he's on waivers is because people are like, well, there's 15 running backs there and any one of them could be, and I don't know who to start. That's fine. Just put him on your roster, and if a situation like last year happened, boom, you have him. You plug it in, you win a championship. I mean, it's crazy that that's even possible to do. Just grab a guy off waivers and win a championship. But that's what the San Francisco backfield allows you to do, is when that opportunity arises. So that's why you want guys like that.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I just don't want to hear it. Deonta Foreman from the Titans, another good game. He may keep his job for a while after.
Yeah, he's looked pretty good actually. He was an Achilles guy, right?
Yes,
he tore his Achilles, so he's one of those rare, came back from an Achilles, and now it's taken him a couple years, and he was obviously very young when he did. So man, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's hope for Cam Akers.
One of the Marlon Mack, and who's a guy from the Texans that came back from his Achilles
Aaron Foster.
Yeah, Arian Foster, same deals. I mean, maybe it's a situation where they figured out how to do these surgeries better after a million of them. And
now I mean, absolutely. That could be just, I don't know, just sucks for Akers, but we'll see.
Okay, we're moving to receiver here. Will Fuller, Dolphins, just because of the Parker situation. Tua looked. I mean, they came back. It was mostly a defensive situation for the Dolphins game. I don't know if you watched it or not, but I'm a Dolphins fan, so I watched the whole game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I stayed up till 4:30 in the morning with my neighbors. That's usually gets me in trouble, but it's great. But he always has a downfield threat that that Tua needs to find. So that's spread the field. Will Fuller is a great pickup as far as that goes. And let's just say, in our league, I think it was in our league, yeah. it was a different league. I started TJ Hockenson and Mike Gesicki. I lost by 8 points, and I started both of those guys, and they both got me goose eggs in a tight end 0.75 tight end premium league. You gotta be shitting me.
Oh man, I have a lot of Hockenson. Yes, that was brutal.
I was trying. Yeah, thanks, Goff, you jerk. Raymond McLeod or James Washington. Okay, everybody's saying both of these guys back and forth. I've always been a James Washington fan, but Ray McLeod just seems to be a little bit more.
He's the slot guy, Yeah. But that's Mason Rudolph. When Big Ben's back, he's throwing to Frymouth down the seam. He's kind of covering the middle of the field. Plus, remember, Najee is catching a lot of passes too. So I would prefer Washington in this case. I think Ray is probably one of those 1 week wonder type of things where it's just Mason Rudolph was in. He can't really throw it, so he just gave him like 15 targets, like 10 yards away. So, I would take Washington there out of those two, just for the fact that he's probably only going to have one catch, but it might be for 50 yards and a touchdown. So if you're going to plug in a guy in a bye week, I'd rather get that.
When is the backup quarterback? When is Dwayne Haskins going to get his shot?
I think he was inactive for this game, right? So he wasn't even the backup. So that's not a good sign.
Well, what if he's the backup now and that's this week? Because I don't think Big Ben's coming back this week, right?
Yeah, I think Tomlin said he's got a chance, but we don't know yet. Now he was pretty funny in his press conference to try to be opposite there of Aaron Rodgers, and made sure he pointed out he was vaccinated. So once he can pass the protocol there, he'll be able to come back. So he may not miss the next week. It's not guaranteed that he'll play, but it's more likely that he would play.
Yeah, right.
So we shall see. But yeah, I guess you're right. It could be more Ray time if Mason Rudolph plays.
Yeah. Tre'Quan Smith from I don't know. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I picked him up in a few leagues a couple weeks ago because I know Jameis really liked him. But now that Jameis went down, no thanks.
How many times have you had Tre'Quan Smith on your team over the years?
Oh God, yeah, I don't know, 3,000 combined.
They say it was Wayne Gallman for me.
He's the wide receiver version. It's just he just has that big playability, and he's fast. And you think, well, you have Drew Brees. He's gonna do something, right? There's nobody else to throw to, and then it's like, all right, well, Jameis, he can sling it. Let's put him in, But now it's like, all right, Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill, no thanks. I have no interest in Tre'Quan.
Yeah, right. DeAndre Carter was a guy I've dropped and picked up like 3 or 4 times this year. I like him, but he's a little bit older.
Yeah.
He has up and down weeks, and then he'll catch touchdown in 5 catches, and it's like, all right, and then he'll have nothing for 2 weeks in a row, and it's like, okay, he's kind of boom or bust, but I mean, you could do probably worse if you had a bunch of bye players in a week. So
if McLaurin's out too, I mean, I don't think they have anyone else to throw to at this point.
Right.
Ricky Seals-Jones is out. Logan Thomas is still out. Curtis Samuel, what happened to that guy?
Right.
There may be somebody who was on a podcast that said Curtis Samuel sucks, and I've been saying that maybe like since the beginning of time. I don't know who that person is, but I know he was right. So, yeah, I mean, otherwise, yeah, I mean, Carter might be the only guy they have left to throw to. So if you need somebody, there's worse options.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Traquan Smith. So,
right.
Tight
end, Dan Arnold, he probably should have been picked up a couple weeks ago. He's been doing really well.
Yeah.
Tyler Conklin, another guy that's, doing okay. He's a steady. That's what I'm looking for, slow and steady. Adam Troutman had a couple like back-breaking penalties in that game last week. I'm like,
and a drop.
As much as I like the guy, it just seems like he gets these opportunities, and it's like, dude,
he's got crazy target share. Like he gets a nice, like he has a pretty significant target share. Like if you look at the top 10 tight ends, and you're like, oh yeah, Kelsey, Kittle, Andrews, Troutman. What? You're like, how is that even possible? But again, they just don't have many options to throw to. So yeah, he's out there running routes.
87 or 88% snap percentage route or something like that. Yeah, same thing.
Maybe he puts it together at some point.
Well, I'm holding him just in case, but yeah, I get it. But speaking of trades, some of my Mighty McGlynn recent trades real fast. I'm going to comb through these, just kind of tell me what you think. So Cordell Patterson for Michael Gallup and Jeff Wilson. That was in our league, I believe.
Wow. No, it wasn't.
I am pretty sure. Well, if it wasn't, I thought it was in ours, but it was Joe Galen, but he's in a different league. So.
Oh my God, Michael Gallup is significantly. I mean, that's wow. Yeah, give me Gallup all day.
Oh, it's not in our league because I just got Gallup last week from P-Win.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, huge win there for the Gallup side and the Wilson throw in. I mean, that's
Jeff Wilson. Yes.
That might be a contender versus rebuild situation because Gallup's probably more for the future, and Patterson's like, hey, I'm trying to win now. So that's fine. But yeah, I'll take Gallup.
Bad timing on that trade.
Right. Well, yeah, unfortunate.
My favorite guy, Donovan Peoples-Jones, in a 2022 second.
Michigan man.
Which would probably be, him and Nico Collins that get about 4 catches their entire career that made it to the NFL. But, see what happens. I like
when you have Johnny Manziel Jr. as your quarterback, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, geez.
So DPJ in a 2022 second, which should be like a mid or late for Carlos Hyde and Jeremy McNichols. This is a guy who just lost Derrick Henry. So this is where the Jeremy McNichols comes from.
Man, give me the receiver and the pick by a mile. Carlos Hyde is worth literally 0.
Yeah, and I love Donovan Peoples-Jones is like 22 years old, and he's a speedster. He's a big speedster too. So,
big play.
This is an easy DPJ Donovan Peoples-Jones in the 2020 second for me.
Definitely.
Kalen Ballage for Equinita St. Brown and Brevin Jordan.
Oh God, yuck.
That's Paul. Derrick Henry.
Good job, Paul.
Derrick Henry for Derek Carr and James Robinson. This is in our league also.
Yes. No, and it's unfortunate. Like I think Steven got Henry, which makes sense because he's just been crushed with bad luck this year. So that makes sense. Let's get Henry for next year. But man, who traded for Carr and Robinson? Schlitz, yeah, he's had horrible injury luck here the past few weeks. Terrible. He's just losing guys every week, so it may not matter at the end of the day. But I believe Schlitz has Nick Chubb, and so Schlitz, I love Nick Chubb, so feel free to send him my way if you're giving up on the season.
I think James Robinson is going to be something wherever he goes.
I do too. Yeah, I think overall it's good because he got the quarterback too. Anytime you're getting the quarterback in Superflex, and I think this trade works regardless. It's a good trade.
Derek Carr for Derrick Henry in a situation like this is probably almost even. As far as because Derrick Henry's already 28 years old. I don't know how long is this. If he starts piling up injuries, especially to his phalanges on his feet, things like that, then you're going to big trouble. So
it's a good deal.
Big Ben for Taylor Heineke, Jerry McNichols, and a third and fourth and fifth.
Jesus.
Whatever. That's I mean, Big Ben's probably this might be his last year too. He had to kind of fight to stay on the team.
Get whatever you can for him. I get it.
I'm not sure what the Washington football team is going to do next year. Heineke might be a backup or start and train a kid or something. So I get it. McNichols is another win now guy kind of thing. So who knows?
Yeah, that's fine.
Ramondre Stevenson and Tommy Tremble for Albert Wilson, Marcus Mariota, Rashard Higgins, Mitch Trubisky, and Anthony Firkser. I got Ramondre and Tommy Tremble in this one. So I just gave away a whole bunch of nothings for.
Well, it's a couple high upside backups.
Mitch Trubisky, getting rid of Mitch Trubisky was very hard for me.
Yeah, I bet it was. No, yeah, I mean Mariota too. Like he's a high end backup as well. So
if he wasn't made of glass, I'd feel bad about it. But every time he gets in there for an opportunity, he breaks his shoulder, or his knee, or his face, or something.
Yeah.
So
right. No, I mean that's fine. I'd take the Stevenson side for sure, but mostly because I like Tommy Tremble a lot. So.
I love Tommy Tremble. His blocking ability is going to keep him on the field for the rest of his life. So as far as that goes, I love Tommy Tremble. Just watch it. If you never had a chance to watch Tommy Tremble highlight video, I mean, he is like probably 30 pancakes a game blocking. He is insane. Notre Dame kid. Even on the NFL now, you see him. He lays into people.
The reason people didn't know him is that Notre Dame, he basically just blocked because he was so good at it. Like they didn't really throw him any pass. I mean, he did make some plays, which, of course he would, because in college you're going to be the best player probably if you're that good in the NFL. But yeah, I mean, he was such a great blocker. They just didn't really use him as the pass catcher.
Yeah. So Davis Mills and De'Ami Brown for Julio Jones.
Oof. That's where we're at with Julio, huh? Yeah.
That's where we're at with Julio. This is my pick also. I gave it to give me more for not whatever his name is. Who's the guy with my wide receivers? Brian Farrell.
Oh, Brian, yeah.
So I like Davis Mills. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. We changed college a couple times. I like Davis Mills. I'm willing to take a chance on him. And De'Ami Brown's the guy, maybe didn't pan out his first year. I love De'Ami Brown. So
yeah, when they get a quarterback,
I mean, for Julio Jones, who's kind of, I think, on his last leg and maybe ready to retire, I mean, he's already on a trade. Julio Jones is already in a trade block for Brian already. I knew that was going to happen. I have no problem hanging on Davis Mills for a couple of years. I think, worst case scenario, he'll be a really good backup in the NFL for a while.
Definitely.
Him going around. So, and to get De'Ami Brown, I got top of it. I mean, Julio for Davis Mills, I probably would have made that trade. Or Julio for De'Ami. So,
yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, it's a good trade. I like it for both sides, honestly. But yeah, I'll take the youth.
Patrick Mahomes, Evan Ingram, Michael Gallup, Foster Moreau, Jalen Reagor, Chris Evans, 220-22 thirds for Diggs, Mixon, Aaron Rodgers, and the 2023 first.
Wow, that
was me and P wins.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I get the pivot from Mahomes to Rodgers, especially because he's got the best team and he's in a position to win the championship. So I get it. I like the trade though to get Mahomes, and I mean picking up, Ingram, Gallup, Moreau, Reagor. Those are all guys that I like too. But anytime you get the best player in the NFL in a trade, I definitely like that. So I know you gave up a lot, but you're putting yourself in position to retool rather than, rebuild.
I gave up an awful lot. And also Chris Evans is a guy coming out that I really liked. He may be one of my most underrated running backs in this draft. And I have him everywhere. This is probably the last league I had. And I have been asking for Paul for like weeks and weeks and weeks. Hey, what for Chris Evans? What for Chris Evans? He's like, you're first. I'm like, get the fuck out of here, dude. Like, so when this trade was going through, I was trying to get Chris Evans and who's the 49er? Brandon Ayuk off him, and he's like, I'm not getting rid of Ayuk. I'm like,
okay.
So I get it. I was trying to squeeze. If I could have got Brandon Ayuk out of this trade also for those guys, I would have been really, really happy with this.
Man. Yeah. No kidding.
So, and
it's a nice haul. It's a nice haul.
It is. It sucks getting rid of I don't like Joe Mixon on my teams at all. He gets hurt a lot too, and I think this may be like his last hurrah as far as like the starting guy. So Diggs is having a bad year, but he's going to bounce back, and I'm sure it's going to bite me in the ass for a year or two. But that offense has got so many weapons. I don't think he's going to ever be the number one receiver in the league.
They're starting to spread it around. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're doing the same thing. They're doing with Tyreek Hill's kind of adapted to, he's getting a lot more dump offs and he's just running down the field. But Diggs is running the same routes and not really changing. He wants to stay Stephon Diggs and do Diggs things. And they're finding other options to throw the ball to. So you may have seen the best of Stephon Diggs here also. So I like the future on my side of that trade. So giving up a first-round pick in the future, that's fine. But, I usually draft guys like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside and N'Keal Harry anyway. So
Akeem Butler.
Really yeah, exactly. So
yeah, fair enough.
Nico Collins in the 2022 mid-second for Tajay Sharp, Zach Moss, and Quez Watkins.
Yeah,
I like Quez Watkins, but that's, I was happy. I didn't really care about getting rid of him.
I still like Zach Moss. So, I think value-wise is that even. I mean, Moss is probably worth a second, and Quez and Sharp are probably worth Nico. So, take your pick. Either way, I'm good.
Yeah, that's I like Nico. I try to get him everywhere. Also, I have a problem with having a lot of the same people on my teams, and that's a good thing or a bad thing. When your team's doing bad, it's bad across the board.
Sure.
But it's when you like your guys, you like your guys. So here's another guy I absolutely love. Kylan Hill for 2022 4th and 5th.
I was just thinking it's too bad he got hurt because with Aaron Jones out, we would have got to see some Kylan Hill, and that would have been awesome because I think he's really underrated too. Kylan Hill and Chris Evans were two guys that I was grabbing in pretty much every one of my rookie drafts in the 4th round. And the only reason I knew about Chris Evans is because of Michigan. So, I knew he was good because I watched him every time he played. But, Kylan Hill, too, he was a guy. He was more of like a Debbie darling for a while. And then his last year, he didn't do as well. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up being a late pick. But, yeah, and then obviously he's buried behind a couple of running backs. But, man, Aaron Jones is not long for the Packers. So Kylan Hill could definitely – that's one of those dart throws where you throw your fourth and a 5th, cool, whatever. Let me take a shot on a guy that could actually have a role as early as next year.
This COVID landing IR, having the IR 10 spots because of COVID and having so many guys every week. I wish we still had 2 or 3 IR spots because everybody threw Kylan Hill in their IR and they're like, I'm not trading him, I'll wait till next year. And it's like, son of a bitch. In a normal season, somebody would want to get him off their roster because only 2 or 3 IR spots. But now, because of all the extra spots for COVID, people were able to stash Kylan Hill, but somebody didn't have any. They actually had 8 or 9 IR spots and 2 COVID spots, so they didn't have his place for Kylan Hill. So I traded a couple picks. And I got lucky to grab him. So I was, I'll take for that. I mean, what else can you get with a 4th and a 5th round pick?
Yeah,
certainly
for
not
sure.
Kylan Hill.
For sure.
So, all right, so now we're at the point we every week we evaluate a team decided by a listener, decide if it's a simple remodel or if it's a full-scale rebuild. Look at the biggest needs of the team, who were the keep, trade, cut guys, and who would you trade to improve this team, or who would you send away to do it with? I sent you a team. I'm going to dig it out right now and share with the audience here.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of cut through this. Usually I try not to have any bad stuff on my screen when I switch over. So let me get that switch. It's a PG audience here.
That's right.
Screen that, and then we'll share. And then here we go. So I broke this team down for us as I do every week. It's a full PPR 0.75 tight end premium roster of 12 teams, 25. This is a startup, so it's a 25-man league right now. We'll go to 30 next year. 10 IR spots, no taxi yet. Players are put directly on the rosters after the rookie draft. So 10 weekly starters, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex, super flex position. And we have a bonus for quarterback after 300, 400 yards. There's a 6 point for every 100 yards rushing, receiving, another 4 points for 200 rushing, receiving, which has happened a couple times this year. No kicker or defense, so it's all players. So what I would ask you, first of all, to see who you keep, trade, cut. And then after that, we'll talk about who to trade for with the guys who we talked about. So his starting quarterbacks are Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff, Big Ben, and Taysom Hill. That's going to be something he's going to need to improve soon. His running backs are Jonathan Taylor, J.D. McKissick, Elijah Mitchell, Raheem Mostert, Giovanni Bernard, Gus Edwards, Jared Dokes. Gus Edwards, who I really love this guy his whole career. It really kind of sucked when he tore his MCL this year. His ACL.
Bad luck.
I was so pissed. I've been playing the Gus Edwards fiddle for the last 3 years here, and then this happens.
Yeah, so underrated.
Give Jared Dokes, Derek Gore, whatever. Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, Marquise Brown, Brandon Cooks, Antonio Brown, Will Fuller, Darius Slayton. This is obviously the strong part of his team here.
Yes.
And then Darren Waller, Jared Cook, Hunter Renfrow, and Jacob Harris, who I like a lot, but it's going to take a while for him. He's hurt right now in IR anyway, but he's got some pretty good tight ends here too. So
Hunter Renfrow's a wide receiver, but that's besides the point.
He plays both, so we're gonna. You can start him at he's actually listed at tight end and sleeper.
Really?
I'm almost positive he says tight end and sleeper. Yeah, so he was both. He was one of those slash wide receiver and tight end, but now they put him in almost strictly tight end. So I'll take the 0.75 thing on that.
Sure. Yeah.
So I wrote on here Aaron Rodgers. I would trade him away as soon as possible. I just did. This guy's probably not going to win now with the team he has, so I'm going to try and look for picks as far as that goes. Jared Goff, I'm not even sure you can even trade him anymore from what he's doing. They know the writing's on the wall with Jared Goff's career.
Yeah, that window's closed.
Big Ben, I'm not sure he's even coming back next year. And Taysom Hill is a gadget guy, good for fantasy, bad for the NFL, I think. But it's all the thing with Taysom Hill. The way I say bad for fantasy is because his stats are so good, but the rest of the team suffers when he's on the field. That's just kind of the way, So
right.
That's the only reason I say that as far as that goes. He's a good fantasy quarterback, but nobody's going to say we're going to rebuild our team with Taysom Hill at quarterback. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, no. Mm-hmm.
So I'd trade away all 4 quarterbacks if I was this guy. Guys to keep, Jonathan Taylor, he's not going anywhere if he's on my roster. I don't think. I mean, if you're in this team has a lot of good pieces on it so far, like a handful of good pieces anyway. But you got to start rebuilding running back somewhere. I know you're not a running back guy, but I would keep him. J.D. McKissick, I get rid of him 3 weeks ago as soon as he had his couple good games. I'm not sure what you can get for J.D. McKissick now. Elijah Mitchell, I love him. He's out for a couple weeks now, but I like him. Mostert, I get rid of. Bernard.
Yeah, he's done. I just cut him in the league.
Bernard I think he's great expectations going to Buccaneers this year. He's cut right now, didn't he? Didn't he get cut?
No, I think he's still there. Still there.
I think his time's over with too. Gus Edwards, we talked about. Jared Dokes. I don't know. I'm not even sure why the Dolphins drafted him. I think he's only had like 5 touches this year, and I don't think he's got much of a future with Miami.
He's on the practice squad now, though, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. He is. They didn't cut him. They dropped him. I don't think he's ever going to be. Emergency running back for a week or something like that. But there's not much of a future for him.
I saw someone use a first-round pick on him in a 1 quarterback league.
Oof.
Rookie pick, 112 or something.
Thinking that Miami was just not having anything. And
wild.
Wow. That's Matt Breida was a guy I had on flyers from like the Fish Bowl and stuff like that, like the very last round. But I would never spend,
Yeah.
it was like a last round flyer, that was it.
Right.
No, thank you.
No.
Jamar Chase, he's not going anywhere anytime soon off anybody's roster.
No.
Tyreek Hill.
It's going to be hard to move him.
Yeah, very hard. That's like one of those things where you'd have to trade your entire first round or something to get especially with this year's draft that everybody's talking about how bad it is with quarterback wise. And,
right.
So Tyreek Hill, he's going to get you probably 25 points every week. So it's kind of hard to move him, but he's worth so much. If you had a guy who was a Patrick Mahomes owner or something like that, or whatever, you could probably get the King's ransom for him. But, it's another guy that's going to be expensive to move. Keenan Allen, man, he's a solid producer, I guess. He was a solid producer, but he's kind of taking a beating this year. Marquise Brown, I like Marquise Brown, but there's just not enough passing going on in that team, and there's a couple of other good receivers that are coming up the ranks. So Brandon Cooks is always awesome. He's been with 17,000 teams, but he's really good. Antonio Brown, he's having a really good season, but he unfortunately got hurt right now, but he is just as valuable as the other 2 guys on the team, and he's so much cheaper. So Will Fuller for the Dolphins, we talked about him, possibly being a field stretcher, more of a best ball guy than a fantasy guy. But
yes.
Darius Slayton, I had high hopes for him this year, and I don't know what the hell happened there. But Waller, I'm not. How do you feel about Darren Waller? Because the way I think, I just want to kind of hear. Maybe I'm on the same page. How do you feel about Darren Waller's future in the NFL?
I mean, I was never in on him. Like, I realized that most people just picked him up off of waivers, and then all of a sudden he's like a top 3 tight end. So I understand like the emotion there, and like wow, this is just found money, right? So I get it. But that organization, I have no idea what to expect with them. I mean, even when Gruden was there, I was like, it's kind of, who knows? And now that he's gone, what's going to happen? They're going to get a new coach. Are they going to make a run at, Rodgers or Watson or somebody? I don't know how that affects things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Derek Carr is a good NFL quarterback, unfortunately. Like he's like one of those guys. He's like a step down from Kirk Cousins, right? Like he could keep his job as long as there's no one talented enough to take it away, or someone fragile backing him up.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like any of that whole situation. I don't want anything to do with Waller, so I don't have any shares. So you're talking 46 leagues. For me to not have a one share of a player, that kind of tells you where I stand on him. So, and if I did, I would trade him. It's you gotta
peak value.
You gotta sell high. Yeah, in fact, his peak probably already passed, honestly, because he's just been so inconsistent this year. Where the past couple of years, that was his thing. He had the high floor, right? He wasn't necessarily scoring the touchdowns to get you that ceiling, but he had such a high floor, such a high target share. But he's still getting the targets, but unfortunately, he's not converting them. Right. And so it's been real bad when you get 2-point outings from your supposed stud tight end. I mean, Travis Kelce doesn't go out and get 2 points. That just doesn't happen. I mean, so Waller's never been in that tier for me. I've never been willing to pay for him, and he's definitely a guy that I would trade like ASAP.
Do you have any Foster Moreau?
Tons.
Yes.
Tons. Love Foster Moreau.
I'm just thinking that the day something happens to Darren Waller or whatever, I don't know what, I think Foster Moreau can fill that spot just as well as.
Well, wasn't there a few weeks ago Waller missed and Moreau had a good
like 25 points or something?
Yeah. No, I mean that offense is made for the tight end, so as long as you have somebody fairly talented. But yeah, Foster Moreau is he's a guy I have in these tight end premium leagues. I generally like to have 2 or 3 of those young guys on every roster. So yeah, I think he's my second most rostered tight end at this point. So yeah.
Jared Cook, I think his time has passed.
He's toast.
And Jacob Harris, I like him. He got hurt this year. I kind of want to see some things, but I think I'd hold on to Jacob Harris is someone you're not going to get much for him if you trade him away. So he's definitely a hold for me anyway. So we've kind of looked at the team. We looked at the settings and kind of saw where he's at as far as, all this goes. But what would you do? How do you look at this team as far as a whole?
Yeah. So, I mean, initially I'm looking at this team and I don't know, where is he at in the standings? What are his points? What does the rest of the league look like?
He's 7-3. Yeah.
And so without knowing that, I'm like, man, this team is old. That's my first impression, right? And mostly it's because of the quarterback position. And so as much as it would be basically everything you said, it'd be easy to agree with because you're not wrong.
Right.
But if it were me, what I would be doing with this roster is completely turning it over, other than maybe like Jamar Chase. And it would be really hard for me to part with Jonathan Taylor as much as I love him, but really having running backs that are producing for you is not helping you rebuild. So as much as it pains me to say, the big thing I would be doing is figuring out this quarterback situation.
Yes.
You got to sell Roger. When he comes out and has another 4 or 5 touchdown game, you got to move him. I mean, he's just you don't know what's going to happen going forward. Now, I think he'll continue to play. I think he'll go somewhere, and I don't believe he'll be on the Packers personally. But he can easily play a few more years as far as his age and his health and his play style. He can. So if you can't get value for him, don't just get anything. I mean, I say move him, but I'm just trying to get peak value. But if you're not able to get that, then don't just, get rid of him for anything. But then typically the way that I rebuild is through quarterbacks first and tight ends as well with tight end premium, and always wide receivers, because those guys generally have a longer shelf life. I mean, quarterbacks especially. It's not really it's kind of a falsehood that wide receivers have a longer shelf life than running backs, because usually their peak production years are about the same. You usually get 3 to 4 out of either position. But sometimes they'll hold the value a little bit longer. You'll say, well, that guy's still only 25. A 25-year-old running back's already halfway through his career. A 25-year-old wide receiver might just be starting. So age is part of it. But the main thing that I've noticed in my time playing Superflex and in playing in all these dynasty leagues is you could have a year where you have 2 top quarterbacks and you can win the league with basically average at every other position, but you cannot win with you can't win with Goff and Roethlisberger as your quarterbacks. It's not going to happen in the Superflex. I don't care what your other 8 starters are. You're not going to win a championship. Yeah. So to me, I like to make those moves. I like to make, trade for the injured quarterbacks, trade for the young quarterbacks. Right now, there's not really a great example because we haven't had anybody go down of significance that could increase their value a lot for next year. That's why you have to use the value that's on your roster, and that would be Jonathan Taylor would be the biggest piece. You could probably trade because to me, Taylor has become the clear-cut one now. Yes. CMC can't stay healthy. Barkley can't stay healthy. Like there's, Cook, what's going on? Who knows what's going on with that situation? Right. I mean, it's at this point, it's Taylor in a tier of his own.
It's Taylor and Najee Harris right there.
And I think, so I think Najee and Swift for me are still up there significantly. But really, it's Taylor's pretty much everybody's number one. You could probably trade him for a top tier quarterback. You might be able to get a Dak, because Dak's not exactly young, but he's going to give you a lot of production for a long time. You might be able to package and get a Mahomes type of thing. I mean, it's just really he's that special and he's that elite, and it's going to give someone a significant advantage every week having them in their lineup. But getting a quarterback who's going to give you tons of production going forward is going to be more important. So I hate doing it, but that's probably a move I would make. Tyreek Hill, definitely, you got to move him. Just take that peak value if you can. Again, if you can get the peak value. Keenan Allen, he's coming off a few good games, so again, you might be able to trade him.
Okay.
So I think he's had some solid games. I think he started slow and he's kind of come on a little bit. So, because he was opposite. Remember, Mike Williams was crushing it first few weeks, and Allen was doing nothing. And now they've kind of reversed. So Allen's coming back, just at least having that floor. He's not scoring a ton of touchdowns, but he's getting the targets and catches. So, I mean, if you rebuilt around, Chase and, we're able to move Rodgers and Taylor and Waller and pick up a couple of quarterbacks, you could really turn this thing around within literally a year. You could be competing next year. But it's also going to depend on who needs what. Every team will take Jonathan Taylor, so that won't be a problem. But would you be able to move Rodgers? Would you be able to move Waller? If there's only 3 teams that feel like they're in competition this year and they have, Kelsey and Andrews and Kittle, none of them are probably going to trade for Waller, right? So you might not be able to. But yeah, I think that's going to be the fastest way to get youth and also be back in contention.
What would it take this guy to trade to get Patrick Mahomes? What do you think on this team? What would an offer be sending out to get Patrick Mahomes?
So it's hard to say without seeing
Right.
the team that has Mahomes, have they been struggling? Are they in the middle? Are they still competing? Do they have two other good quarterbacks?
Just put them in the middle.
But I'd probably offer Taylor straight up.
Oof.
I'd just offer Taylor straight up for Mahomes and let's see where that leads. Now, if I could, let's say that team has another good quarterback, but not necessarily two, where the guy would say, great, I can plug in Taylor, but the hole from Mahomes is too great for me to give up. That's where you can say, all right, how about Taylor and Rodgers for then Mahomes and maybe a 23 first, a couple of 22 first, something like that. Maybe another young receiver, a young tight end, maybe a Zach Wilson or a Justin Fields or a Mac Jones or another one of those young quarterbacks that now you can have two quarterbacks. You get your stud and then you get a possible young guy that can grow and add value. So that's.
Would you trade away Aaron Rodgers to get, like you just said, Zach Wilson and Mac Jones?
Two of them gives you a better chance, but you're still likely to only end up with one of them that would replace the production of Rodgers eventually. So I think that would be a harder trade for me to make.
You're talking about Zach Wilson replacing Aaron Rodgers, right?
Yeah. Well, I just traded, actually in Trade Addicts 5, I traded Kirk Cousins, Daniel Jones, and Travis Kelce for Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, my first, which will hopefully be the 101, and then a second that should be the 201 or 202. So I brought back control of my pick, which allows me to tank and get that higher. But essentially, yeah, Daniel Jones and Kirk Cousins, two kind of middling, QB2. Kirk Cousins in QB1 this year. He's usually underrated a little bit, but having the upside of Wilson and Fields, though, I mean, now I pair that with all my young receivers and my tight end room, and now all of a sudden I'm a lot closer to being relevant than if I just roll with Cousins and Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of take those risks if you really want to win. Ultimately, because getting fourth or fifth place every year isn't going to do anything. You're not going to get a good pick, and you're not going to win any money. It doesn't do anything for you.
Right. Well, so we're looking at how many of these receivers would you move?
So I think obviously you build that room around Chase. I'm okay with hanging on to Brown. You really have to see who's willing to give up anything. So like Fuller and Slayton aren't going to have any value. I'll hang on to the Renfro because he's a PPR machine. Somebody's willing to give you a first or something, great. Antonio Brown, he's a guy I've had trouble moving. I've been trying to get a second for him, and obviously he got hurt. So
yeah.
We might have to wait on that. But the fact he was putting up 20-plus points a week and I couldn't get a second for him, that just seems crazy.
Right.
I think people are so scared of what he can, just disappear on you. Brandon Cooks, underrated, probably not a ton of trade value. So I would be Tyreek Hill for sure, Keenan Allen probably. I think, again, though, you might have to be more patient on those guys because you want to get maximum value. You don't want to just trade them for anything.
Yeah,
they're still stud. Tyreek Hill's still a stud. You can't just give them away because you're like, hey, I'm not going to win this year. I'm just going to give this guy away. You're better off holding and waiting for the right opportunity to move him. Or maybe you make a couple right moves and, you get next year's Jamar Chase or, next year's stud quarterback and then in that rookie draft, and then all of a sudden he's helping you. So don't give them away.
Let me ask you a question. When you're trading away these guys for picks, I mean, every draft class says, "Oh, it's gonna be the best draft class ever," or this 2022 is supposed to be really bad, And as time goes on, it'll find out it really wasn't that bad, or it's really not that good, or whatever. But when you trade for draft picks, are you trading away for 2022s, or are you trying to get 2023s recently?
I'm preferring 23s over 22s only because everybody else does. So now that currency becomes more valuable, because if there's in every league, you can find guys that are all about the 23 picks.
Yeah.
Right. And that's all you need, because then you can take those 23 picks and go to, even if you don't care or you don't even want picks, that's fine, because you can trade them. Right. So you just go find that player in your league that's like, oh man, those 23 picks are gold. Great. Let me go buy your productive players then. Let me go get some pieces, or let me get your 22 pick and a player.
Yeah.
So I'm preferring it only because I know that they're going to have more value. But in general, I'm not waiting 2 years for a draft pick. Like, if I trade for a 23 first, it's pretty unlikely I'm actually making that pick. Unless my team, unless I'm doing a total teardown. So
I like trading. I just traded away my 23, pretty much my entire 23 draft class, because now I know I have 2 years to get those picks back if I do like draft class.
Exactly.
That's fine. Go ahead. I'll take your young guys right now for this 2023, and because you don't need.
You can wait 2 years to make that pick.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
So yeah. Well, that's kind of I don't want to say that's the end of our show sheet. That's the end of our show. That's somebody else's line, but
I'm familiar with that one.
Thanks for joining me on my little fun little hobby called the Commissioner Evaluation Podcast that I try to put together every week or so. Not that any of the 4 people on Twitter who actually interact with me wouldn't know you already, but please tell everyone on Twitter and YouTube world where they can find you and what you do again.
Twitter at Scott_Sidlo, Sidlo. Very simple, very easy. You can find me pretty much every week on Dynasty Junkies. That's the main one rocking right now. Anywhere and everywhere podcasts can be found. We record those live on Thursday nights, typically 8:30 Central Time. So you can find YouTube videos and or audio podcasts.
Yes, very good. I'm usually drinking during the games, not podcasting, but I like to hear you guys on my podcast when I'm at work the next day. That's works out pretty nice. I love listening to the podcast. People who only watch YouTube or only listen to think that podcasts aren't that fun unless you're watching it live. Give all these ones a chance if you don't have the time to do it on YouTube, because there's some fantastic information on the podcast that you're on and a lot of other people's podcasts too. So
definitely.
But once again, thanks for coming on. And as the old Irish blessing goes, may your home always be too small for all of your friends. And thanks everyone for joining us today. And I'll see you next week.